purpose, I swear. Oh.
Monday morning, kids ready for school. Put on a face, he's been a fool. Said he's sorry, I left my keys. Put on a smile, so they don't see. Kids in the backseat, singing to the radio.
Hey, welcome.
Hello.
So how was your week?
Well, it was interesting. It's been good so far. I had a couple little interesting blunders over the weekend, so that was kind of fun. I went down to Somerville a couple times this week, and I got stuck in some massive thunderstorms. So I had to pull over to the side of the road, drive with my hazards on. So that was a little crazy. And I'm always a little bit of a nerve wreck in thunderstorms. I'm one of them that's usually hiding under the desk if there's a thunderstorm warning or a tornado alert goes off. And I'm sitting here driving through it. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, I got to make it alive. I'm terrified. I can't see. And then I was driving in the dark and I can't see. One, I can't really see, period. But when it's raining and when it's dark, I really can't see. Yeah. So it was I was guessing where the road was at times, going just, Jesus, take the wheel because I can't. So that was part of it. But oh my goodness. So I ended up having another blunder today.
I hope he wasn't dumpster diving.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't dumpster diving. Not this time. That was last week. So, I like to have a new expedition every week, something exciting. So I had a meeting today and I dressed, professional, have my culottes and my outfit and my jacket on and everything. And I'm yeah, I'm looking the part, and I get out there and the side of my pants completely busted open. The zipper busted open and there was plenty of room. It's not like they didn't fit, but the zipper just went, nope, we're not today, Gina. We're not working. And then next thing I know, I got everything hanging out the side of my pants because it's this long of a hole. And I'm oh my God, I have to go into this meeting right now. And I'm sitting here fighting with my zipper in the car. It's not working. So I finally was all right, I'm just going to hold my jacket really tight over this side. And I'm just going to walk in. And as I'm walking in, they have this full body mirror right there on the side. Okay. And I'm thinking, Lord, I hope nobody sees me because they're going to tell me to walk away. And I look on the side and I can see that the jacket is not covering the entire seam opening that's there. And I'm oh my gosh. So I'm trying to skirt in sideways so people don't see me and hold my jacket closed at the same time. I swear, just everything happens to me. And it's those little things that you have to just be you know what? It happens. It's life. It is what it is. And, I could have moments where I'm just pissed and angry at the world because really the perfect timing was not right now,
yep.
But it's it's life. So,
it's amazing. The trust. It's amazing the trust that we put into zippers. Nobody ever thinks, oh, this ain't gonna break.
I have a love-hate. I love Shein. I get a lot of my stuff from Shein because as a woman, if you're a woman out there, you get Shein. It's the cutest clothes in the world, and it's cheap. Mm-hmm. Cheap. So that's the key word, is that it's a love-hate relationship because some of the stuff is, perfect and amazing, and the other stuff is nope.
What's going on, Jason?
So.
Yeah. No, you're talking about the guy that was last minute asked to go to a wedding, and literally for this job, they told me for a briefing, I had to wear a dress shirt. And I said, your choices are this or a flannel. That's,
Oh, Lord.
that's as close as I have to a dress shirt.
Oh, my goodness.
And so for this wedding, I went to Walmart and I got the belt, I got a pair of pants, a dress shirt, right? And we're getting ready for the wedding. And I don't remember who it was. Somebody said, hey, do you know you still got the tags on your clothes? I said, yeah, because when this is over, they're going back.
I really return it. Oh, I love it. Oh, my goodness.
I said, I ain't never going to wear them again. So.
You better not get anything on them.
I did. They went back the same day.
I'm not gonna lie, I've done that a time or two back in the day when I'm just like, I'm only wearing this one time. It's a special occasion. I ain't ever gonna wear this again. So, you know.
I think we've all been there where you're saying, I've got to get a pair of pants, but I also need gas. So I got enough gas to get to where I'm going. And then afterwards, I can take the pants back, get my money back, and put that in the gas tank.
But you have to wait for that 72-hour window for the money to go back on your card.
No, you tell them just to put it on a gift card, and then you go to a Walmart pump.
Oh, my goodness. I like your thinking. I like your style there. Yes, that is smart thinking right there.
I'm glad now I'm too old to even think about doing stuff like that. I'm just like, it's too much work. I'm not going back into Walmart.
I'm the same way. Like, I'll get something and I'll take it home and be like, oh, this is totally not what I wanted, or oh, the socks are broke. And it's like, oh, I'm going to return it. And then it sits in my car for 90 days. And then by that time, I'm like, well, I guess I own it. It's going in the trash, or it's going to sit in my car for another 90 days.
Look, I'm going to tell you, I learned from the best when it came to scams like this. My dad, you know, he's passed away now, but which has probably saved Walmart a ton of money. But you're talking about a guy that would buy the same stereo, right? And when it went out, he would go and buy another stereo that was exactly the same thing and put the old one back in the box and take it back and get his money back.
That's smart.
He's like, they don't check serial numbers. It's just going to go back.
Oh, my goodness.
Been
so
beat to
someone's
hell.
gonna get a new stereo thinking they're getting like the new like B1500, and next thing you know, they're gonna be like, this is from 10 years ago. I got the antique version, the special version.
Well, you know this topic kind of goes with what we're talking about. I guess to rob a place, you would have to wear a mask, you know. So as a scam artist, you got to have that frontal appearance, you know, that you're hiding behind.
True. Very true.
Why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about what the show is going to be about today?
Yeah, so this episode is going to be episode 3, and it's going to be, we're calling it actually, it's okay to take off the mask. And one of the reasons that we really wanted to talk about this today is because so many people suffer and struggle silently. So many people are hiding behind a mask, acting like everything's okay, acting like the world's okay, acting like there's no problems, you know, whether it be in your personal life or your work life or your home life or, you know, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It's okay not to be okay. And I think that's one thing we really, really wanted to talk about tonight, and really wanted to reiterate, me as being a woman and, you know, Don as being a veteran and a man, is that
this week.
Yeah. He identifies as a man and a veteran this week.
I've experienced boob sweat this week, so I may be slowly changing.
True. Well, I think I said something on my video I did earlier that I was like, you know, I'm sweating my balls off, but I don't have balls. But if I did, I'd be sweating them off too. So I'm right there with you. But, you know, it's so important to be able to stand up and say, hey, it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to reach out to someone if you're not okay. And I think that's really why we wanted to talk about this topic tonight, because so many people still hide. So many people are their pride gets in the way, or their strength gets in the way, or, you know, who they are as a person, whether it be, you know, they're the boss of the company, or they're a veteran that just came home from deployment, or whatever it might be, that they have to stand tall and strong, right? And they have to be the tough one, and they have to be the one that's a caregiver and the caretaker and all these things, and that they're not allowed to show weakness. They're not allowed to show that they're struggling, or they're going through a hard time, or they're suffering with PTSD or depression or anxiety, because society makes those things kind of, you know, I don't know what the word is that I'm looking for, but it makes them look like
There's
they're
a
not
stigma.
a stigma. Yes, thank you. My brain just had one of them moments, you know. And so we're really trying as a whole to be able to come out with so many of us, you know. And that's the beautiful thing, is that it is growing exponentially with so many people, so many men, so many tough men, so many, you know, veterans, so many people are coming forward saying, hey, I'm a man, I struggle. Hey, I'm going through this, I have trauma. Hey, I have depression. Hey, I'm not okay. And they're showing that it's okay not to be okay. So I think it's such an important thing.
So I did some thinking on this, like I usually do, because I got, you know, it's an hour and some odd minutes to work each way, so I get a little bit of time to think, and you know, I kind of call that my me time. You know, I just get to go somewhere and think to myself, well, this week I thought about this topic, and you know, it's tough to say take that mask off, right? When, especially if you're in the military, because all the way from basic training on up, you get taught if you don't look like the guy to your left or your right, then there's something wrong. And to come out and say, I'm not okay, is admitting that I'm not squared away like the guy on my left and my right. When the reality is, y'all are probably fucked up, you know, the whole row. and you are just like the guy to your left and right. It's just that mask that everybody puts on shows that you're not. And I think it's tough to go home, look at your spouse and say, I can't do this, there's something wrong with me. And then they look at you like, well, you just came back from some god awful place, you handled that, why can't you handle dealing with Thanksgiving dinner, you know, the little shit.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it gets difficult, you know. I'm not a fan of commercials, I really ain't, but there's that one commercial that when I watch it, I kind of like, that was me for a while. The one where they're talking about there's a better medicine for depression, and the girl's walking around holding a smiley face with a stick. It's a drug commercial. And it's supposed to be some drug that goes with your antidepressant. If your antidepressant is not completely working, it's like a booster, you know. But she's walking around and she's going to parties and she's depressed, but she's holding a stick in her front of her face with a sign on it with a smiley face, right? And it talks about the mask that you hide. And I'm like, you know, it's not funny, but man, it's so true. Because that's exactly what everybody does. You know, when they're laughing, that, you know, they're hurting inside, but they want to make everybody else feel better in hopes that it makes yourself feel better. And it just goes further down that hole when that's not the case, you know. And I think it kind of ties in with our last one about military spouses. So, you know, I thought about this as well. So when you're out with everybody else, you've got that mask on. But when you get home, that mask comes off, and your spouse sees the other side of it. And unfortunately, a lot of times they get the brunt of the results from it, you know. And it's not just about taking the mask off, but it's about being able to function without the mask.
Right.
And there's two parts to that. And I think a lot of people just don't understand that, that you have to be able to do both, you know, and it doesn't come overnight.
Right. Absolutely. And could you imagine if for just one moment, could you imagine if the stigma was lifted across the world? Every single man, every single woman, every single veteran, if the stigma was lifted and your brother was able to look over here and your sister was able to look over here and your commander and everybody was able to look and say, you know what, you're just like you and you're just like you, and we all are human. We all bleed red. We all are the same heart and soul on the inside.
Yeah.
For one moment, if people could just stand up and look at each other, look at your brother, look at your sister, and be like, hey, I'm just as not okay as you are, and it's okay that you're going through this. And I wish to hell that stigma could be lifted and that everybody in the world could know that we're all going through the same thing. It's like going through different things. Okay, let's say you have an embarrassing moment, right? Something happens, it's embarrassing, you don't want to talk about it, you don't want to tell people because you're a little humiliated by it, right?
Yep.
And so you keep it to yourself. It's a secret. You keep it inside your body, mind, whatever. It's a secret, and you don't tell anyone about it. But you know how many other people have that same secret in the same situation that happened to them that they don't talk about either because they're embarrassed or they're scared or they don't want to be made fun of or they don't want to be, judged or,
Right.
whatever it might be, right? If you think about if all of us could come together, because really wearing a mask is a secret. It's a secret. You sit there and you show yourself one way to certain people. Hey, you're fine, you're good, everything's okay. When you're in the military, you're tough, you're bulletproof, you can withstand anything, you can go through anything, you follow orders, you do what you got to do, right? But then all of you are like that. Every single one of you. You're trained to be soldiers, you're trained to be tough, you're trained to take orders. But all of you behind closed doors, even me as a person, all of us in the world behind closed doors suffer silently.
What's up, Derek?
Suffer silently, wear a mask.
Yeah.
And
Well-
and they don't take it off because they're afraid of that judgment.
So let's take this a step further, right? It's funny how you said, what if we could just lift that stigma, right? And it is possible. But I think it comes down to the world has to change in order for that stigma.
Oh, absolutely.
So let me ask you this. If we changed it to where in the military, if there was something wrong with you, your chain of command was behind you, they got you help, and they supported you, and everything was, hey, it's okay to be you, it's okay not to be okay. If you're hurt, say something, we'll get you help. That whole kinder, gentler military, right?
Right.
And then they go to war. They go to combat. One, are they still going to be mentally strong enough to make it through when they are hurt? And the choice is either give up and die or fight and keep going to make it alive, right? And I wish the truth was, why can't we just get it to the point where the fear of war was gone?
Right.
Because then we could do what we're supposed to do. We are supposed to look out for our brothers and sisters and not just kick them in the ass and say, well, get your ass up, let's go.
Right.
Be there and understand. And, I see the military. I seen it as I was getting out, that whole kinder, gentler, military that they were trying to brace us for all the policy changes that were coming and everything else. And it always made me wonder then too,
Right.
Well,
see, in the kinder, gentler part, I don't agree with. I think that there's certain standards that need to have stayed in place. Like, you're a snowflake, you don't belong there. If you're sensitive, You don't belong there, but there's certain things. But like when it comes to the mental health treatment that is given, whether it's there or whether it's afterwards,
Right.
if the stigma at that time could, what if, you know what I mean? Like if
Yeah.
it could be lifted after you've gone to war, after, you've been deployed, after you've gone through those things, how do we continue? And that's what we do today is
Yeah.
every day we're fighting to lift that stigma. We're
Yep.
fighting against an invisible battle.
Yeah.
A
Trying
battle
to
that,
change the mindset
yes,
when that mindset is no longer needed, and that's,
exactly.
I had a lot of people ask me, and there's a lot of things that you do in the military that is psychological, and a lot of people don't understand that. There's a reason why they have you chanting, what makes the green grass grow? Blood, 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 and they make you say stuff like this over and over again, right? And I had a person say, how could you actually shoot somebody? And you tell them, look, at the end of the day, there's a reason why every target we shoot at is a black silhouette, because when you're in combat, that's what it looks like. And that is already at day one of your basic training, they are starting that process of changing your outlook, your mindset,
Right.
and getting you used to seeing things that you probably should never even have to deal with,
Right.
and I think that's why it's so hard to get people to change that stigma when they come out, because it is hardwired from day one,
Right.
know.
Basically, we're going in there and we're trying to pull everything apart,
Yeah.
and all the knots that have been built over the years of training and experience and mind stuff and all that. Like we're trying now to like pry it apart, right?
Yeah.
And restart it without breaking all the connections in the process, and you're absolutely right. You're
That's
absolutely
awesome,
right.
Brian. Glad to
It's
see it's working.
yay. That's a absolute fact.
And the other part to this too is, I think, expectation. Um, so that's the second part. Let's first take the mask off, put it down. You know, what's that Charlie Brown character that has the security blanket? You know, well,
Oh, Linus.
Linus.
Yeah.
Put your security blanket down and never pick your mask up again, and then
Yeah.
go through those motions one by one and start working through them, right?
Yeah.
And then have the expectation to not expect that everything's going to go back to the way it was before the Army happened. You
Right.
have to, at some point, be willing to embrace the new you, because you went through a lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you were brainwashed, built tailored all the way down, and built all the way back up, just like they say in the military.
Yeah.
And to think that you're going to go undo all that and go back to the way things were, well, I mean, that would be nice, but it's just not. I don't think it's realistic.
Right.
Maybe it happens for some, but that's not the norm.
Of
And
course.
I think at the end of the day, um, if you have those expectations, and it goes just like our theory said, it's okay to not be okay. Well, guess what? That's the new you.
Yeah.
You just have to embrace it.
Right. Learn how to work through it and with it.
Yeah.
And honestly, as horrific as this sounds, as some people are probably gonna get mad if I say this, but find the beauty in it.
Yeah.
And when I mean that is sometimes that beauty is being there for somebody else. It's being there to help somebody else not go through it as significantly as you did, or to just be there to walk them through it because you know exactly what they're going through.
Right.
And when you're able to find the beauty in healing somebody else and helping somebody else, it truly internally it helps you heal. It helps you have a little bit of your soul back. It helps you have a little bit of your heart back,
Yeah.
unlocks that jail cell just a little bit. And I have a little story that I'll tell you, that a little bit about my life and kind of why this is my passion, and why this is something that really God has put on my soul to say, hey, this is your job. Your job is to reach people. Your job is to help people. Your job is to help people find themselves again and find hope and live in the new norm, right? And accept it and then be able to find their purpose in the new norm, because we all have one. And, I've told my story a few times. And so I was an Army wife for a long time, and he was an 82nd Airborne. And so he had been deployed 3 different times, and we were not together during that time, but we were together for about 6 years. And I met him when he was active duty in the National Guard. And so I got heavily involved with being the family readiness leader for the National Guard for soldiers and their families. That's kind of like where my passion started. I started really learning about our military, and I started really learning about our veterans. And this is something that I've always had a passion in, helping people. But until you live the life and you experience it yourself, and you really get to understand what it is to be, a military wife, or really learn and speak to veterans one-on-one and find out what it is they truly go through, people don't understand. A lot of people on the outside looking in, they think, oh, this person, we all have problems, it is what it is. It's life, we just need to get through them. But people don't understand. A lot of people don't even know what PTSD stands for, so it's, or a lot of people will ask me, what's the 22 a day? What is that? What's 22 a day? Because I wear this every single day, my 22 a day bracelet. And people come up to me and ask me sometimes, what's 22 a day? And it gives me a moment to be able to educate them and tell them, that is, those are our veterans that take their life every day, that commit suicide, and, unfortunately feel like there's nothing left to offer them in this world, and their battle wins, and so then they get involved in, oh, wow, I didn't know that. And, it's spreading a seed. It's opening eyes to so many people that I think are blind to what actually goes on, so becoming a military wife and really learning the other side, the inside, the outside looking in, we'll say. I learned a lot, and I experienced a lot, especially with our veterans, especially with our soldiers, especially with being a family readiness leader. That's really where I found my voice to start speaking to people and start helping people and realizing how much hurt there is in the world. And being in a relationship with somebody that was always happy, always cracking jokes, always funny, always, kind of the life of the party. He was a comedian, right? He was the one that was always laughing, joking. Everything was great. It seemed like he had the perfect life, perfect everything, perfect home, perfect, relationship, perfect everything. And on the outside looking in, that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like everything was great. And that's what I thought too. And truly, what I went through was 6 years of happiness, 6 years of just my fairy tale marriage that I thought, my gosh, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I'm a lucky person, but come to find out, he would drink a bottle of whiskey every night. And, there were times when I sat down and I was a little quite concerned about the drinking that would be going on. And we'd talk about it. And it was like, oh, I'm just enjoying it. I'm having a good time. It makes you feel good. He was never an angry drunk. He was never a belligerent drunk. So it was something that I picked my battles, and there was times that I would get a little bit more firm about it, and be like, hey, we really need to, I think, curb this a little bit, but that was his vice, is drinking. But he was still so happy and wonderful and great. And ultimately, we ended up having some situations come up that I chose to walk away. And after that happened, that was pretty crushing for both of us. And I went back and we talked and we sat down and we talked, and I said, why? Why this? Why did this happen? And that's when he came out, and I knew that he had pain that he held inside. And I can't tell you how many times I tried to sit down and, hey, how are you? Are you okay? You got to get to that point where, and that's what comes into the military spouse side of things, where, if that person feels safe and comfortable with you, that's a wonderful thing, but it doesn't happen overnight. And
Yeah.
sometimes until that person is ready to open up and accept himself, he's not going to open up. Right. So
Yeah.
that's kind of what I went through. And then afterwards, when we sat down and talked, I found out for 12 years, he has been miserable. He has been depressed. He has had night terrors. That's why he drank every night, because he couldn't sleep. He had insomnia. And the alcohol was the one thing to drown the pain, to drown the demons, to drown the horror the nightmares and stuff that he would relive. And so he started telling me that he'd really suffered for 12 years since he deployed to, I think it was Afghanistan. And that time when he came back, the camaraderie was gone. The brotherhood was gone, because, the deployments dispersed. Everybody went wherever they went.
Mm-hmm.
He moved. He went to a different state, got into the Guard with a whole new group of people, and so everybody went their separate ways. Like you were saying last week, they all went their separate ways. Some had jobs, some were married, some, who knows what they did. And unfortunately, several of them didn't come back, or they did come back and they were one of the 22. And that is such a hard thing to go through.
Yeah.
But we had to go through a traumatic time in our life to get to this moment where he opened up to me and he told me the truth about what was really going on in his life and what was really, really struggling with him. And he told me that there's nothing, no matter what, that he couldn't be happy, that he just had misery inside him, in his heart and his soul. And no matter what he did, even if I'm the best person on the face of the earth, he does not have happiness inside him, because he doesn't love himself. Yeah. He didn't appreciate himself anymore. He lost and was empty, and I was able to talk to him and tell him I'm always here as a friend. I forgive. I love you. I'm always going to be here as a person for you. And, I helped get him into some therapy and some assistance and working on some other things to work on the drinking and things like that. Mm-hmm. And the reason, I went through pain and I went through a lot of trauma and I went through a lot of my world being ripped upside down. But in that moment, he also brought my purpose into my path. Yeah. So, even when we go through those painful times and those horrific times, there's always a plan. I got him to take off his mask for the first time in 14 years, that he finally opened up to somebody. And now he's working on opening up and he's working on himself and he's trying to heal, and it's to go through that personally is why I do what I do today, because I lived with somebody for 6 years and I'm an empath and I'm a psychic and I read people like crazy, especially now. But like back then, I didn't see it. And that's the reason that I do what I do today, because I didn't see the pain. He hid it so well, so perfectly, that I didn't notice it. And that's today why God's put it on my heart and soul. And I think that's why God put him in my life, to teach me those things. So now my purpose is that mask is, I will fight till my last breath for everybody in this world, to help them take off their mask, to help them, let them know that it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to reach out, and that we're here and that we love you. And, it was a very, very eye-opening time in my life when God called me to do this. And I didn't see it right away, for sure, but through moments and more experience, I realized that this is what God called me to do.
Yeah.
So, and I wrote a song about it. It's crazy.
Well, at the end of the day, I think that's where the mask has to come down, because
Yeah.
it builds and builds and builds, and I don't care. There's a breaking point,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and you're going to come to that, to where either you decide to start the healing,
Mm-hmm.
or you decide to become a statistic, and it sounds like that's what happened with you guys. It came to that breaking point, and that mask crumbled,
Yeah.
and he had to make a choice. You
Yeah.
know, um, unfortunately, with anything like that, I think there's always going to be collateral damage, and the people closest are the ones that are going to get hurt. And
Right.
some people are not as fortunate as what you guys were, because the collateral damage can scatter people, and that closeness and that bond is forgot about what they had before. You know,
Yeah.
and so I think that's where what people need to understand is, you can hide it all day as long as you want, but at
Mm-hmm.
some point you're going to fall apart.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
if you're not prepared to embrace the new you, then that's where there's problems. You
Absolutely.
know.
And I feel like that us talking and doing these podcasts, and so many other people that are out there talking and speaking and fighting for this, is little by little, one day at a time, one person at a time, one moment at a time. We're changing lives,
Yeah.
and helping people, like, and we can only lead you to the water. We can only lead you so far.
Yep.
And you have to make the choice whether you're going to drink the water, or you're gonna
Drowned.
drown. Yeah. And I think that's where it's some of the toughest parts, when you're fighting to help someone, and you're fighting to help them see their worth, and you're fighting to help them see that they have a purpose, and that they're loved, and that they matter, and that you can heal. And when people sit there and say, well, there's no hope for me, or I'm worthless, or I'm a lost cause, or my demons are already taken over, you can always get through it. You can
Those
always
are
get through it.
that is you giving in. I mean, that's all that is.
Mm-hmm.
You can. I've been in there, and I get it.
Yeah.
I used to be that guy that played the victim card, and anything that went wrong in my life, it's because I got PTSD.
Right.
And that became a crutch. You know,
Yeah.
um, part of healing is also, and I say this just about every episode, but part of healing is taking responsibility.
Absolutely.
And you're gonna have to get to that point where, when you take that mask off, and you finally admit that you're not okay, even if you're not ready to say it's okay not to be okay, just admitting that there's a problem allows
Yeah.
you to start working on a solution, versus
Yes.
working on a way to hide it, because
Yes. Yes.
it's going to crumble. We were talking about this before the show. Look at somebody who everybody thought had everything, the funniest person in the world, on the biggest stages, in just about any movie. People were dying to have him on the show, and that's Robin Williams. And at some point, the things that were the darkness that was inside him, I don't know what it was, um, but whatever it was, it won.
Yeah.
You know, it came to a crashing point, to where he stood there in front of those crossroads, and had to make a decision. You know, and I hate to say it, and I don't knock anybody who has tried it I don't knock anybody's, I will never talk bad about anybody that did do it, you know. Um, and the reason why is because I understand, you know.
Right.
I know the circumstances. I don't know how many times, and I'm glad things worked out for me, but I don't know how many times I left somebody in the barracks who was going through things, and I just was like, oh man, you'll be all right. You'll sober up tomorrow, you know, and come the next day, they're there. Maybe they're better, or now they say, yeah, I'm good, because they feel like they have to,
Yeah.
you know. And I think back about how many times I walked away from somebody that it could have turned out to be really bad, because I had that same mentality, man, suck it up, you know.
Yeah.
And you think back
But you're
about
here
that, and
now.
yeah,
You're
yeah,
here
I
now
mean,
and you're making the difference now, and that's what matters.
and it like I said, it takes some understanding. You have to be able to know that you can't have good without bad. And
Yeah.
just because things got bad doesn't mean that they can't get good, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's
I
that's
do
how I
agree with
feel,
that.
it's tough to allow yourself to get vulnerable when you're already hurting, because
Hmm.
that's the other part that we really haven't talked about. That face, that mask isn't so much just there to hide what they're going through, but it's also a uh, security. It's their protection,
Hmm.
because they're hiding behind it, and they don't want you to know anything about them, because if you start prying, you're going to bring things out that they don't want to talk about. And so that
Right.
mask is also their, that's their shield, that's their armor, you
Right.
know.
Right. And that's very true too. And I think that's where it gets tough. Especially kind of doing what I do, and talking about, hey, it's okay not to be okay. Hey, let's take the mask off. Hey, let's work through this. Let's start diving, into things to start to heal. If you're not ready, like you said, to get rid of the security blanket, if you're not ready to take off the mask, if you're not ready to be vulnerable, then I feel like there there are times that could be a worse situation than
Absolutely.
others,
Absolutely.
and so I think when you force someone, like, hey, come on, just talk to me, tell me what's wrong. I see you're struggling, I see you're going through a hard time, what the hell's wrong with you, let's figure this out. That type of attitude towards someone, where you're pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. Come on, let's just get back to where we were. Why are you not okay? Like,
Yeah.
that is something that, you're right, can have an absolute adverse reaction. And
And
there's a way, I think, to go about it, a smoother path
absolutely.
to get
You know,
there.
until being there until they're ready
Hmm.
is the first step.
Yes.
If you start forcing, think of it this way, right? There's a reason why um, the police doesn't allow painful interrogation, torture techniques and stuff like that,
Hmm.
because even if they get told what they want to know, was it true, or were they just saying it to make the pain stop?
Right.
Well, it's the same in this situation. If you start forcing yourself on them, I'm going to solve your problems, I'm going to solve them, they're going to give you just enough information to get you to
Yeah.
leave them the hell alone.
Yes. and
You
and
know,
that's very true. And that's why I do my videos the way that I do, like the motivational stuff that I do on TikTok, Facebook, whatever. Like, I do my video, I talk about certain things. I slowly kind of ease people into what I do. And then when people start paying attention to the video, or they start, wow, there's something in here you really said that inspired me, or, I'll hear something like 15 videos in, hey, I've been following you for a while. I just want to let you know that I watch your videos every day, and, the things you say inspire me. That's when that you can start working with them, and you know that you've connected with them. And so like, I'll never reach out to anyone and be like, you ready to take off that mask? Let's go. You know, come on. Let me just rip that bitch off for you. Like,
it's a Band-Aid, asshole. It just comes off.
1, 2. We won't even get to 3. Yeah, no, like, so I try to like strategically place myself. And honestly, people come to me. I don't go to people unless, you know, honestly, unless God's like, hey, this one you need to go to, because that does happen. And when I do that, I don't come at him and be like, listen, God called me over here and said that it's time for me to rip your mask off. So, you know, let's get this going. No,
I got shit to do.
Right. It's like, you know, I come into your life and I befriend you, and then I learn about you, and then we start talking, and then things just flow the way they're meant to flow, you know. But that's one thing that I agree. You can never just go to someone and just, you know, force them to change their life, force them to fix themselves, force them to heal, force them to not have, you know, struggles anymore. And so I agree. I think that could be a very adverse reaction if it's done aggressively.
Absolutely. And I know we're getting close to the end of the show, but there's one more thing that I really do want to put out there, right? We talk about getting rid of the stigma, right? That's not okay to be okay, right?
Yeah.
There's something else that we need to get rid of. All right. We need to get rid of the thought that the guys that need help, and gals, it doesn't matter. If you say you need help, that means you have to go to the VA and sit on a couch and talk to somebody that doesn't understand.
Yes.
Because that is not the case.
Right.
Okay. I tell everybody, anybody that comes to me about this, it is a conversation. Okay. It could be with your best friend. It could be with your dog that doesn't talk back.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, that's not my dog. She talks back all the damn time. But you know, but just saying it, just hearing yourself say it and start talking about your problems. Look, there's a reason why that person at the VA is on a clock. And when it's quitting time, it's quitting time.
Yeah.
Right? It's because
They're
they're not a part of your
hard
healing.
to talk to someone like that.
Yeah. But you're not there for them. You know? And they are there to be that bouncing board, and then to give the expert advice that the statistics say, you know, you need to fill out this paperwork. And in the moment, right before you punch that guy, you should ask yourself how you're feeling, you know, and they don't realize that what you're asking me to do is unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know, how about I punch him and then ask him how he's feeling? Yeah.
And, you know, and that's true. And that's one thing I love about this, and I love about social media. And honestly, I love about TikTok, because if it wasn't for TikTok, I wouldn't be here right now. There's so many beautiful things on TikTok, whether it's a video, whether it's someone you connect with, whether it's a live, whether it's, you know, something you see, right? There's something, I promise you, somebody is always your somebody, whether it's across the street or across the state. There is someone out there that relates to you. They relate to your story. They relate to your testimony. They understand what you're going through. You know, you could be scrolling through TikTok and watch this video and be like, damn, I feel that today. I feel that. And, you know, maybe you make a comment and then that person makes a comment back to you. I've had that a ton of times in my videos where somebody will comment, you know, I'm just not feeling myself today. And all kinds of people, hey, you got this. Look, you're not alone. Hey, we're here for you. Hey, we care. And there's a family bonding and developing there, you know, and then you start to make that connection, and that connection is life-changing. There's so many people on TikTok that have become family because look at us. We're family now, you know, look at everything that's going on. It's family. If it wasn't for social media and it wasn't for TikTok, we wouldn't be here. People wouldn't be able to connect the way they do. There are lives being saved. There are, you know, differences being made in the lives of others. There's life-changing moments. There is connections. There's relationships that are bonding and forming from people that are 4 states away from one another, that were there at the right moment in the right time. And you're right. They're not looking at their watch going, well, you're my 15th client today. And, oh, look, it's been 30 minutes. So, I'm going to bill you another half-hour session. Is that okay? It's not like that. It's people connecting and actually saying, listen, I've got you. I get it. I'm here. I'm listening to you, And so I agree that when you're not okay and you open up about that, whether it's like you said, to your spouse, your friend, the dog down the street, whatever, whoever it needs to be that you feel comfortable to open up with and let it out. That's the beginning of starting to be able to heal.
Look, when you can get to the point where you can talk about it without breaking down.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like I said, you could do this by yourself. The important part is hearing the words come out of your mouth.
Yes.
Saying what is on your mind, talking about your emotions. You can write it down. The point is that when you bring it out, you have to think about how you're articulating it, which makes you focus on it, versus that squirrel in your head that's saying, I'm thinking about this. Oh, I need to go pay my bills. And then I'm thinking about this. And I got to deal with the dog, and you don't really accomplish anything because it just makes you tired,
Yeah.
And I think that's the most important part is the first step. Get to the point where you can talk about it.
Yes.
Right. And then if you've been doing it by yourself or you've been talking to your dog, then you can branch out and say, okay, I've got to this point. I've got these problems. What have you guys done? What have you done? And you can start reaching out to other veterans and say, what has worked for you? Because what worked for me might not work for you.
Yeah.
But that's what you have to realize is this isn't this ain't like what the VAs try to do. Because if you go to the VA, the first thing they're going to do is start you on the same drugs that they start everybody. They have this recipe for the first timer. Oh, that didn't work. We move him to this one. We move him to that one. We move him until finally you find something that works or you go away, And, I'm not talking bad about the VA because it's worked for me. I just know it hasn't worked for a lot of other people.
Not everybody. Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you have to understand that this is not a one size fits all.
Right.
So that means there's other things out there besides what you're standing in front of. If you're one of those guys that went to the VA and you never went back to talk to anybody else again because it was horrible, guess what? That's not your only choice.
Right. Just like my sheet pants.
Yeah.
They don't fit everybody. Even though they say one size fits all, doesn't necessarily mean that's what they mean. It's like a one size fits all.
But
just
but
like
how good is their zippers? How good is their zippers?
As faulty as the VA.
So they use VA zippers. I got it.
Oh goodness, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. But it's true. Everybody's got their own healing process and their own journey and their own, way, that length and time that they're going to get there. And, us along the way we're here to help open those doors and start the process in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, talking about songs, Barbara Sim, one of the songs that she has is called The Long Way Home. And it's exactly that. That song came from the fact that she was talking to a therapist. And one day the therapist looked at her and said, you really should be better by now. And she said, well, I guess I'm taking the long way there. And that's where that song came from. And that's exactly what we're talking about. It's not a one size fits all.
Yes.
Some people are faster. Some people are slower. Some people, go different routes. And it's different for everybody,
Yes, absolutely. And it's completely understandable too. And it's okay. There's no rush. There's no rush to be fixed tomorrow, because that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and there's no rush to be fixed in the next couple of days or months or weeks or years. You know, it's your time and your pace. And when you're ready to take that move and that leap forward and open that door, there are people here that love you and care for you and want to help you along the way to help you get there.
Yeah. Well, if you don't mind, before we close, you want to share your the new song you've been working on with everybody?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I wrote this not too long ago, actually. And I'll just kind of read you some of the lyrics because it kind of really pertains to our topic this evening. And this is a song I kind of wrote after being on the outside looking in. So it's actually called On the Outside Looking In. Comedian at the party, always setting the mood. Have 'em in stitches, laughter fills the room. A mime putting on a show. I'm on the outside, I see who they don't. Your eyes tell me what your smile won't. Dark circles, demons seep. Horror movie on repeat, insomnia peaks. Reels in slow motion, eyes shut, you don't sleep. Whiskey sings a lullaby, gives you some relief. Empty bottle in the left, new one in the right. Liver slowly dying, you cling to your vice. Your soul fighting to survive. If you're lucky, you might get some sleep tonight. You're numb to the tune the liquor sings. That voice is disdain. Your paint is wet, shining on your face. How much more can you take? Smile dipped in your denial. Fresh coat added to your stage. How many layers can you take before it crumbles on your face? Empty bottle on the left. Don't pick up the right. Peel off the paint. You have a dog in this fight. Don't be dead while you're still alive. You're going to be all right. You can make it and not just live to survive.
That is awesome.
Thank you. I got to get a melody to it here in the near future, but it's, you know, I got a couple chorus lines in there I didn't feel like I needed to repeat, but that is a song that I'm working on. So,
I mean, the words are powerful because they're so true. They really are.
Yeah.
You know, and that one thing that you said in there, I agree with you. We're gonna have to make it a T-shirt, one that says "Don't be dead while you're alive."
Amen.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that'd be an amazing T-shirt.
Absolutely.
Don't be dead while you're still. You don't have to be dead while you're still alive.
Yep.
It could be like a hand reaching out of the. It could be like a skeleton hand, like skeleton part here, and then a hand. No,
Yeah.
just kidding.
No, yeah.
That might be kind of creepy, but it'd be kind of cool.
Well, I figure that's kind of something that we would come up with. It's going to be off the wall, you know.
Yeah. I have some interesting ideas. We shall see.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and everything's going and moving for a reason. And you know, at the end of the day, I don't worry about so much how many people watch this, but I worry about the ones that go back and rewatch it because there was something in there that they needed to hear. You know,
absolutely. Whether one or a million.
Yep.
If it's changing lives one person at a time,
then it's worth
exactly what it's meant to do.
Yep. Absolutely. You know, I think this podcast is exactly what people need to hear. You know,
I agree.
And I like how we're doing things, and I like how we're kind of moving in a you know, each episode's kind of leading into the next episode, you know. And yes. I think if anybody follows with us and they listen, I think they'll be in a good place, you know. at least in a place to start healing, because none of us are therapists, but they'll at least be in a better place to start the process.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. I'm definitely not a therapist. I come from a school of hard knocks.
Yeah, you and me both. The guy taking wedding clothes back.
I just walk around with my clothes like half ripped. So, hey, it's all right.
Or digging in the dumpsters.
Oh, goodness. I have to write a book someday.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh.
Well, I think this has been a good episode,
Yes, I do think so too. I think so
So-
too.
I appreciate everybody listening, and tune in every Tuesday, 7 Central, 8 Eastern, 6 Mountain, 5 Pacific. However, wherever you live, there's a time for you.
There is. That's right. We're going to be here.
Yep, absolutely.
And we love y'all. Y'all are amazing. And remember, no matter what, you're worth it. You matter. You have a purpose. And it's okay not to be okay. And it's okay to reach out. We're here.
And it's okay to do it at your own pace.
That's right.
So
That's right. Absolutely.
y'all take care and be safe.
Bye, guys.